Hi everyone, Brody here with the Pride Swell info video for June. This month we'll be making miniature DIY Pride floats from easily accessible craft materials. As Pride season rolls in, this can be an opportunity to celebrate or think about how we might reimagine Pride, bringing it away from corporate sponsorship and closer to its activist origins. So the prompt is a parade, a march, a protest. We made this prompt so that you can have space to decide what kind of float you'd like to make, be it celebratory, critical, political, or something else entirely. The kinds of floats we all make will contribute to what kind of pride parade or march or protest we can create together. In this video, I'm going to elaborate on the prompt, talk about the history, origins, and present moment of Pride parades, and after this I'm going to walk through a demo that I made to show you one possible way to go about it and give you some inspiration in case you're having a hard time getting started. So before the demo, I wanted to talk a little bit about Pride and our prompt. So Pride's roots are in the long struggle for the rights and protection of queer and trans people. Political riots like the Compton cafeteria riots in San Francisco in 1966, the Stonewall riots in New York in 1969, and the Toronto bathhouse raids in 1981 are all examples of queer and trans community response to systemic injustice at the hands of police and other power holders in society. Homophobia intersects with other societal oppressions such as race, class, and gender, so it was often trans women of color leading the fight for justice. On the screen is Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson, two trans women of color who had prominent roles in the Stonewall Uprising of 1989. Pride marches began in this same vein as a political demonstration initiated by local activists to bring the issue of queer and trans liberation to their own communities. On screen is a photo of the first organized march by queer people in Halifax, Nova Scotia in 1988. As queer and trans people have become tolerated and even celebrated over time, Pride parades have shifted away from these political roots and moved towards celebrating the queer and trans community. This is a photo of the 2016 Pride Parade in Halifax. Pride has become a staple summer parade in many cities around the world. Many corporations now use Pride parades as opportunities for advertising and as spaces where their participation can improve the public image of their companies by making them seem queer-friendly, without necessarily advocating for the lives and rights of queer and trans people on a regular basis, and without being allied to community. Activists and critics often describe this as rainbow capitalism. In 2016, Black Lives Matter Toronto protested Toronto's decision to allow police to be present at Pride and the poor representation of racialized queer people at the parade. This is a photograph of that demonstration, which halted the parade for 30 minutes until the executive director of Toronto Pride signed a list of demands. Last year in Halifax, the Black Nova Scotian activist trio comprised of Trayvon Clayton, Kate McDonald, and Dorico Simmons, otherwise known as Game Changers 902, were the ambassadors of Halifax Pride. Rather than a Pride parade, they hosted a march and a candlelight vigil in honor of all lost queer and trans people and to honor the community's strength. Across time, Pride has been used as a parade, a march, and a protest, often at the same time. When making your float, you can lean on the history of Pride for inspiration as well. The items you should have in your package are minifigures, adhesive felt, tissue paper, a cardboard box, glitter, glue, pipe cleaners, pom-poms, and more. The items I used were a bit different as I didn't have access to all the materials and my package hadn't come in yet, but the general idea is the same. A big difference is that I use cardboard from the recycling to make the kind of box of my float, so it is a bit of a different shape, and I also painted it black. But you can also use cardboard from your recycling and any extra materials you have from previous projects as well. There's really no one way to go about this project. So I decided to use my float to speak up about barriers to accessing gender-affirming hormone therapy. In accessing gender-affirming hormone therapy, there are two options primarily used in Canada, one requiring a letter of readiness that can be costly and intimidating, and another known as informed consent, where a medical provider can prescribe hormones without requiring a letter of readiness. This model is based on mutual education between medical provider and trans patient, and full and informed consent. And so, as you can see on screen, I designed a float that has two raised portions that I can put mini cardboard cutouts on, and I'm going to use felt to make mini banners to attach. I'm also going to use an empty bottle of estrogen on a raised pedestal as a symbol for barriers to access. So I started by cutting out the cardboard pieces that I needed to make the float. You'll be getting a pink cardboard box that you can use as it is, or change up the shape with scissors and tape or glue. I then used tape to assemble it and then painted it black. After putting them together, I made the cardboard cutouts of hormones, pills, shots, and patches and attached them with glue. I also used a Sharpie. Then I added the bottle of estradiol. Then I added string in the colors of the trans flag from the pillar to the front of the float, and it looked pretty cool. Then I lined the inside with some felt and added some feathers to the back. After this, I added 3 banners that were made from felt and Sharpie to the front and the sides. They read, "Transitioning is a human right, informed consent all the way, and end medical gatekeeping." I finished up with some glitter glue detailing. This says access for all. I got some stuffed animals and figurines from my roommates, and Pride is about to begin. So that's all from me for this month's prompt and package. If you want, you can send Casey photos of your mini float so that together they can make up a parade. As usual, if you have any questions, feel free to email us at casey.burkholder@unb.ca or brodyweaver@nascad.ca.